This is the Franchise Basketball Insider, presented by Massengale Eye Care, Oklahoma City's leading eye care provider since 1989. Call 631-2020.
Sam, how does not knowing for sure what Kevin is going to do impact how you move forward in your planning process between now and when he does make the decision as in regards to whether you try to make a deal to get into the draft or stay where you are, or Deion's situation, that sort of stuff?
Well, obviously, the more clarity you have in any decision-making process, the more it helps you. But like I said earlier, we can't speed that up, and we can't slow it down. So we'll get an answer from him at the appropriate time. I think it really is important for him to take his time, get away from things. Look, Kevin is he's a highly, highly intelligent person. He's a mature person. He's a rational person. And he's going to work through the decision in a way that will help him do what he feels is best for him. And, we'll react accordingly, once we have that information, and we'll try to be as prepared as possible.
You famously showed up at his doorstep the minute he was eligible for an extension last time. Do you plan on doing the same thing this time?
Again, I think, we haven't really even transitioned to that level of planning. I think, as I said earlier, the first thing is reflecting on the year that we had. We started the year saying, we really want to stay present. We really want to enjoy the year as it unfolds, not think so much about what might have happened previously, what could happen in the future. I think we're still a little bit in that mode, and I think deservingly so. But all of those things, the actual conversation and things of that nature, that'll take its place naturally. Again, we've been with this player for quite a while, and the way I personally choose to look at it is, you got to take a step back and realize how incredible, how fortunate are we that Kevin Durant has been one of the first players to ever wear a Thunder uniform. He's played for 8 years in Oklahoma City. Kids that were 6 years old watching the Thunder are now 14 years old, and they've watched this evolution of Westbrook, Durant, Ibaka, and company through their adolescence. And now we have the opportunity to sit down with him and talk about what looks like an incredibly bright future together. I think you have to embrace that. You have to really lean into that, in an excited way without knowing what the outcome might be. But I don't see any reason to shy away from that. I think, we should be really excited about recognizing the relationship. And as I said before, it's a continuation of a dialogue that's been going on for 8 and 9 years, and it's an opportunity to talk about what the future might hold for us together.
In perspective of what he was able to do this season, Kevin I'm talking about, given the fact that he was coming off of an injury that cost him most of the previous year.
Well, I thought the season he had was just remarkable. Returning from injury, which none of us can really understand, unless you've been an NBA player that's missed a large amount of time due to an injury and come back. I'm just really happy for him because I thought he had a lot of fun during the year, and I watched him, this time last year in the pool, and I remember when he started to start walking like it was celebratory, to go from that to having maybe his most efficient year. I thought the way he handled his affairs, as I said before, I've never been more impressed with somebody in that regard. He allowed the team to really enjoy a wonderful season. He showed tremendous care for the franchise, and that's something that can't go overlooked.
Sam, last week Serge kind of reflected on the season that he had, kind of expanding his game to be a more all-around player. What did you think about the season that Serge had?
I thought Serge had a really good season in this respect. I think people look at okay, maybe his shot blocking was down or this was down. I think when you are being asked to become like an all-around player, as you said, like you're not going to be able to concentrate everything towards like one skill. So you're going to like kind of broaden out your contributions to cover more area. And you're not going to be able to just be specifically great as a rim protector. He's still an elite rim protector. But if I'm devising an offensive scheme against the Thunder, like the number one thing I'm trying to do is drag Serge Ibaka away from the rim. And then I also think just the way that he performed in the postseason, the way he dealt with Nowitzki, Aldridge, he executed those game plans to a T. And he wasn't going to get a lot of help individually by design, and he was fantastic. And then to go to the next series and be guarding Harrison Barnes, that to me shows you kind of like this evolution of the player and how helpful he is to our team. And then the other thing is he shot the ball. He was I think he's the 5th best three-point shooter in the postseason of guys that had taken 53s. So to have someone that does all those things, again, we can all make numbers look a certain way if we want, but his overall contributions and his acceptance of the role that he needs to play for this team to, as we said earlier, discover itself, I thought he was fantastic.
What are the obstacles on bringing Alex Abrinic over, and is there concern he may never want to come over?
Again, in terms of obstacles, anytime you have players overseas, the obstacles are first, they're under contract with another team. Second, you have your own timeline and your own decision pathways that you have to make. The question is whether or not those things can join up at the appropriate times. Our conversations with Alex have always been really productive. We're in constant communication with him. He's having a fantastic year. I'm sure all of his focus and attention right now is on Barcelona, finding a way to make it to the ACB final again and hopefully winning. But whether or not he joins us this season or future seasons, I think that it's incredible that we have him in our pipeline of young talent.
Again, this season, you mentioned a core of guys. There's Kevin, Russell, Nick, Steven, Serge. Throughout the season, has anything changed in your perception of how Serge fits into that core of guys? Is he still a part of that core? Oh,
absolutely. When you look at what that group of guys as a collection have accomplished, and many of you guys have covered it. We've had the second best winning percentage in the league over the last 6 years. I think we're second in the league in playoff series wins during that period of time. A lot of things. I don't want to sit up here and read our media guide to you, but when you have a group of guys that have gone through that and a continuity, as I said earlier, that's something we've always strived for here, and we believe that's directly connected to sustainable success. That's a tremendous advantage for us.
What would the draft be like for you this season? No picks?
Well, it's a first. Like we talked about earlier, we're truly an organization of firsts. We're still not 10 years old, and we haven't encountered this situation yet. So I'm actually kind of excited by it because it's an opportunity to approach the draft in a different way. It's a way to use our creativity and imagination in ways we haven't. So I'm kind of excited to see where it leads us. Now, we prepare for the draft like we're picking 60 times, no different than we've ever done or prepared for any draft. But we can use our minds a little bit differently, trying to decide how to get in and if we were to get in and who we'd get in for. And I'm kind of looking forward to that. I feel like the opportunity that we had at the trade deadline to get Randy and then to create that much flexibility from a salary cap standpoint. We saved about $9.5 million on that particular transaction that we can then apply to this season's team or future teams, and we can still find ways to get in the draft. But we felt like that was the right decision for us, and I think it'll be fun to prepare for a draft where we have to be more creative.
Some of your young guys really showed a lot of improvement as the season went along, and especially in the playoffs. Just your thoughts on what you saw from Steven, Ennis, Dre, and Dion.
Sure. Well, I wouldn't just limit it to that group of guys. I feel like even guys like McGarry and Hustis and Payne, even though they may not have seen as much time, we really saw some tangible improvements from those guys, and tried to utilize the blue team as effectively as we could. But what we've tried to do over a period of time is make sure that we always have a continuation of our of a roster that could continue to improve, as well as a sustainable environment and culture that is as organic as possible. And I think the draft allows that to happen with Dre and Steven, as you mentioned. But we feel like their best basketball is in front of them, all of them. And we're hopeful that they'll continue to improve, but not just individually and individual workouts, but just in their own cohesion together as a team. And I think, that's what makes those guys unique, is I think they fit with the other players on our team. And we're not looking to, identify players that can play in the NBA. We're really looking for players that can grow and thrive within our environment and with our current set of core players. And we feel like those guys fit a certain purpose or certain calling for us, and hopefully we can continue to help them improve.
The improvements that Steven and Andre have made, has that kind of accelerated your thought process in terms of reaching out for them for extensions? Like Steven was a guy who seemed a little bit more clear-cut about going into the season, but Andre and the improvements he made in the postseason.
Well, I think we've always taken the approach, the players that we've drafted and developed internally, we always make an attempt to try to continue that relationship. Sometimes that's possible, and sometimes that's not. It depends on kind of where the guy is and what we're trying to accomplish as a team. But we feel really good about those guys. And, at the appropriate time, we'll sit down and have a conversation. Obviously, we have until October 31st to have that conversation. And if it doesn't take place during that period of time, again, we don't have complete certainty as to how everything will look. We can't see that far into the future. But if it doesn't happen by then, we have an opportunity to go into free agency the next year. But I'm really proud of both of them. I think they both impact winning. I think they both fit our identity and complement our core players.
How much did what they accomplished in their progression in the postseason, Steven, Andre, Dion, how much does that play into the message that you want to send to Kevin in regards to him coming back this next season?
Again, we're not, when it comes to those conversations, I think, again, he's here every day. You know what I mean? And, well, the one thing we don't want to do is create, or sit down and create some kind of fantasy world or fictional, environment where, all the stars have to align. We have always focused on trying to build the best organization we possibly can, populate it with great people throughout, treat people well, and try to put a team on the floor that's capable of winning at an incredibly high level consistently. Those guys and the team as a whole are part of that. But, I think Kevin's a really wise person, and he'll make his decision based on the criteria he thinks is important for himself. I can't speak to that.